Alright. I am Ray, and there are an infinite amount of things to worry about in this life. The mind is always freaking out about everything. But this one truth dissolves them all the things. You shall know the truth today, my friend, and it will set you free. I promise you that. But no guarantees. I had a dream last night where there was this wise man meeting Yogananda Buddha. If you don't know who Yogananda is, he was a spiritual saint, a mystic, often called the father of yoga, who brought Eastern philosophy, Eastern teachings to America. And Yogananda Buddha, he was speaking about returning to earth to relieve the suffering of all the beings, the Bodhisattva vow. But, he said, after this incarnation, he would not realize God again until, let's write some numbers here, a bunch of random numbers, and the word googols. What is a Google, you may ask? Not the search engine. The OG. The G-O-G. The G-O-O-G. The Goog. A Google is the number 10 followed by 100 zeros. Let's see if we can fathom this. 1, 2, 3. Here we are. 1 Google. He basically said he will not wake up again until 35,962,187 Googles. This number is made up. I don't remember the actual data, but you get the idea. And I started to freak out. Oh my God, that's a long time. So my mind started to panic. Oh no, I'm not ready for this. And oftentimes in spirituality, we come into contact with certain ideas that freak us out. Like this. But almost in the same moment, I remembered, oh wait a minute. God is here now. Time is irrelevant. It's an illusion anyway. And in that realization, in that remembering, was instantly free, everlasting relief. But it was like a little bit of throwback to suffering. I remember what it was like when the mind would freak out about things. It would panic about certain ideas or even just certain experiences. It would worry and spiral out of control and create endless suffering. And that is what all people are going through. They are unaware of the freedom and the relief that is already yours. And the Yogananda Buddha comes to remind the world again and again and again to relieve their suffering. Those who are in the light return to bless those who are in darkness. I am the master of time. And you see, this is why I like to discern the low spiritual path from the high spiritual path. Low from high. That plane is high. Or maybe it's low. I don't know. There is something called the world of 10,000 things. That is the world that people live in. As I like to say, there are an infinite amount of things to know in this life, but only a few things to understand. So people get caught on the low spiritual path, which is things like manifestation, tarot cards, crystals, astrology. And these things are cool. They're great, if that's your thing. But don't go into it thinking you're going to find what you're actually looking for. These are things to enjoy, to experience. Enjoy them. But if you don't find the riches of the high spiritual path, it can just be distractions. All the spiritual ideas, all the things of the world, they are distractions. Until you find this. Until you find that freedom. The freedom that can only be experienced in the present moment. But if you don't have the freedom, you go around living your life pulled around by all of these different ideas. It's a never-ending hamster wheel. And they call it samsara, a wheel of suffering. But once you find the freedom, then you can go out into the world and do what you like and have fun. But think about what it would have been like if I had not known about this. If I present to you the idea that you will go through an innumerable amount of births and deaths and rebirths, that you will continue to reincarnate life after life after life, that is not something the mind is able to handle. What does this mean? An eternity of this, of pain and suffering, and being lost. None of the ideas matter. None of the spiritual ideas matter. None of your thoughts matter. They're all just thoughts believed in. And because we believe in them, They freak us out and they throw us into panic. Unless you have found freedom, don't worry about it. Don't worry about the thoughts. Don't worry about the spiritual ideas. In fact, don't worry about anything but this. Because literally everything is a distraction. And I see that people struggle with this, that they know spiritual ideas. Intellectually, they got it. But experientially in their life isn't really that much better. That is because they have not found this. They have not found freedom. A lot of spiritual people, they're all head knowledge. All the information is up here, but they have not ingrained it in themselves. So they perhaps know all the right things. They can even say it, but they get no results. And that is how you know, stuck in here. And so, really the final spiritual teaching, you cannot understand with your mind. If you try to understand it with your mind, you're straying further away from the truth. Because the truth is beyond your mind, it's beyond your thoughts. This is why people have such a hard time. You can't think your way into enlightenment because your mind is the exact one who is getting in the way. I say to you, there is freedom to be had. Inner riches. And your mind says, oh, where can I get them? Where can I get these inner riches? You cannot get them because they are already yours. How can you get what is yours? How can you become what you are? And so the mind doesn't understand this. What do you mean? How can I get them? That's what I'm asking. That is why they say enlightenment is the ego's greatest disappointment. Because the one who wants it is the one who is getting in the way. On one level, you have to have a strong desire for freedom, so long as you're in the grip of the ego. But at some point along the journey, you have to give up that desire. Because if you believe what you're trying to get is not already yours, you'll push it away. If you think that what you want is in the future, you'll be on this journey trying to get it. And so the mind cannot comprehend that everything you desire is already yours now, that you are already free. But I say to you, my friend, the only prison in existence is that of your own mind. And you are both the prisoner and the jailer. And that prison is made up of thoughts, beliefs. It is nothing like paper-thin walls that seem like big concrete slabs. We believe ourselves into separation from God. And you see, awakening is not learning anything new. It's seeing what is already here. It's seeing what has always been and what will always be for all eternity. And once you understand this, you are free for all eternity. It doesn't matter what happens. It doesn't matter if there's a billion lifetimes to go. Nothing else matters. You dissolve all illusion, all the world, all of your hells, and you enter into the kingdom of God. And you become fearless because you know firsthand that you are beyond death. You are the life. You are the light. And darkness and death has no power over you. Because where life is, death is not. And where light is, darkness cannot sustain itself. The only reason that people suffer is because of their own mind. And you have the power over your mind. But think about how many people identify as the victim. They say, I am a victim. They put themselves in this little box. This is who I am. And so then they begin giving their power away to forces that do not have their best interest in mind. So you can see how people enslave themselves. There is no system to enslave you. There is no matrix to enslave you. There is no government. All of it just made up thoughts that we choose to believe in. And you might say, well, no, it's true. These things are true. The real things are going on. But let me ask you this. Where are they right now? In your experience? You will only experience those things in your thoughts, in your imagination. But right now, in this moment, they do not exist. And this is like the old riddle, if a tree falls down in the forest and there's no one around to hear it, does it make a sound? And somebody who is perhaps logical and reasonable, they say, yes, of course it makes a sound. But that is wrong. It does not make a sound. Because a sound is an experience. Vibrations entering into the air canal. And so if there is no one there to experience it, there is no experience. And therefore there is no sound. There is only a void, nothingness. it does not exist. In the same way, everything outside of this present moment now does not exist. It's a void. Only when you begin thinking about other things can you assume that, oh, all of these things are happening. But you can see why people suffer so much is that if you look on the news or on social media and they're telling you, oh, the places of the world is such a bad place. You think about it, and you see, oh, this bad thing happened. Oh no. But then you walk outside and the sun is shining. The birds are singing. Hello, neighbor. Wow. My direct experience contradicts what they're telling me. So who's correct? And you can continuously become aware of how the rational mind screws you over. It says, no, there are bad things happening in the world, and this is the way it is, and something has to be done about it, and this is wrong, and this should not be, and I hate the government, I hate the politicians, I hate capitalism, I hate money. Just thoughts. We suffer more in imagination than in reality, haven't you heard? And then the rational mind will come back and say, no, I'm right. But if you look in this present moment, before the mind, before your thoughts, you will begin tapping into the true nature of reality. Because most people are living their life from thoughts. Everything is a thought. You look at this whiteboard and you say, oh, that's a whiteboard. Whiteboard is a thought. Or, how about this? A romantic partner. Oh, I love them so much. They're such a perfect person. They're the best. You're projecting an idealized image onto them. You're not seeing the actual person. And so when the person, contradicts your ideal image, you feel like you're betrayed. And that happens to people all the time. We have a made-up idea of who other people are. But they were never that way. It was just made up. And so when the truth is revealed, the true nature of the person comes forth. You are not betrayed by that person. You were betrayed by your own fantasy. The truth dissolved your illusion. The person was always that way, but you were just not seeing clearly. So we get betrayed by our own thoughts. And we never get betrayed by another person. And so the thing that's so hard for the mind to understand, to reach freedom, is that the mind is always looking for objects, things. I want to get freedom. I want to get liberation. I want to get enlightenment. I want to get peace and love and joy. But as the one priest guy said, what you are looking for is already where you are looking from. You are the source of everything that you seek. But the mind cannot understand this. Why cannot it not understand this? Because you're not an object, I hope. You are the subject. You are the light. And you cannot observe yourself directly. Everything that you observe is separate from you. There are only two things in existence at the end of the day, from the moment you're born until the moment you die. There are an infinite array of changing experiences upon the backdrop of an unchanging awareness. That is you. And we suffer because we identify with the objects of our experience. Don't you see? We look at our body and we say, oh, I am the body. I am this human being. I am this person living my life. But your body changes. It's a changing experience. Your mind is a changing experience. Your thoughts are a changing experience. Every single thing you experience is changing. But what is the one thing that does not change? Because here you are in the womb. It's a changing experience. Then you're born. Then you grow up. Changing experiences. And then you go to sleep at night and enter into the dream state. Again, another infinite array of changing experiences. And then you fall into deep sleep, another changing experience. Because you wake up again and experience more things. But who was there the whole time? You. Behind all of it, there was an old Sufi quote that said, in the rocks, in the trees, God sleeps. In the bugs, in the fish, in the reptiles, and the birds, God dreams. But in man, God awakens. It is the same awareness, the same one consciousness in everything. The awareness of the fish is the same awareness in you. Well, that is why when you look into the eyes of your dog or your cat, oh, I love you so much, you're loving yourself. That is the whole meaning of the word namaste. Namaste. The divine in me recognizes the divine in you. The same one consciousness, temporarily manifesting in a unique form. And so long as we identify as a changing experience, we will be living in fear. Because change is death. By definition, change is something appears, stays for a short time, and then goes away. So we believe that that will happen to us. We were born, and then we live for a short time, and then we will die. Oh no, not true. Death is an illusion. There is only change. You are eternally free once you recognize this. And the only thing that keeps us from recognizing our true nature as consciousness, as the awareness behind experiences, is our false identification with our thoughts, with things. You are not a thing, I hope. Life is like God's great game of hide and seek. God enters into this illusion, believing it is something that it is not. It forgets its true nature, so it can rejoice in the act of remembering. What we're doing here, we're remembering. Like in The Lion King, remember who you are. Simba, Simba. And you might ask, well, why even this game in the first place? Why all this nonsense? The struggle and the suffering? Because life can only be experienced in duality, in separation. When there is no object of your experience, when there is no other, there is only you. And so there is only a void. And that is the experience of deep sleep. There is only darkness, with you there as the light. But in the moment of separation, there is light and there is darkness. And experience can be had. So God gets to enjoy itself through us. Can you believe it? Life is meant for you to be enjoyed, not to suffer. I mean, I guess you suffer for a little while, so you can experience the relief. And all of the suffering that I've experienced in this life, I look back at it now and how terrible it was. And I do not judge it as bad, because without that suffering, there would be no meaning. Meaning is created through contrast. I was just thinking about it some point earlier. If my life was just all sunshine and rainbows, it would be dull. There would be no depth. It would not be good. So you can see there is an imperfection in perfection, and there is perfection in imperfection. Well, and we're always trying to run away from the struggles and the negativity and the darkness. We don't realize that that is what gives life meaning. As Marilyn Manson once said, without the threat of death, there is no reason to live at all. Without the villain, there is no use for the hero, and without the hero, there is no story. And once you recognize your true divine nature, it makes sense, and you see the perfection in the world. But because when we identify as the objects, as the unique forms, we live in fear because we believe in death. And with fear comes judgment and all kinds of negative things. And so this is the fundamental thing that I teach. The first pillar, enlightenment, recognizing your God nature. Because until you recognize your God nature, you're going to be stuck in the game. And you're always going to be struggling, and you're always going to be trying to survive. And you can make your way up the next levels and stuff like that. Get better things, upgrade your character. But most people are playing life on demo mode, believing they are the character in the game, when you are in truth the one behind the screen with the controller in your hands. Do you not know why Jesus could do the things he did? Because he became free from the illusion. I think one of the reasons I had the dream about Yoganandi is because I was reading his book, The Second Coming of Christ. He was connected to Christ consciousness. The same Christ consciousness that Jesus was connected to. They were one. And the book is about him explaining what Jesus was actually talking about. He would have visions of Jesus, and Jesus said, yes, write this book. Explain what I was talking about, because these guys, these people, they keep forgetting. Most Christians would crucify Jesus again. And they would crucify me, because we're all saying the same message, that you are God. But that is blasphemy. And what separates us from freedom, true salvation, liberation, is this little box that we put ourselves in. The box is made up of beliefs and ideas of what we think is true. And in order to find the truth, you must be unboxed And if you don't do it yourself, life is going to do it. Because this box only provides a false sense of safety. Think about it. Would you build the foundation of your house on sand? On something that is moving all the time? And yet, 99% of people on the planet build the whole foundation of their life on that which is changing, on beliefs, on ideas and stories. We assume that we have an accurate representation of the truth. Oh yes, this is how the past happened. And yet you see how multiple people in the same situation have completely different perceptions of what went down. And everyone thinks they're right. Think about it. All of your beliefs can be destroyed in a single instant with one piece of new information. So why would you build the foundation of your life on your beliefs? Doesn't make any sense. Why would you do this? It's like being on a life raft in the ocean, but it's sinking. This is why you see the ego is always insecure. Somebody says, hey look, your life raft, it's sinking. Your beliefs are not as true as you think they are. No, it can't be true. I have to look up at the stars and the sky and the sun. The sun is shining. And the birds. The ego gets emotional and insecure as a survival mechanism. This little box keeps it safe. And so when anyone tries to poke at your beliefs, well, you see it all the time. People get triggered. And they get really emotional about it. That is why people have been killing each other in the name of God for thousands of years. It's because they're being run by the ego. And they're fundamentally insecure. Because if you were secure in your understanding of the nature of reality, of the truth, you would not care what other people think. You will have built the foundation of your life on that which is eternal, which is unchanging. So you can get all the warriors of the world, the Genghis Khan, come to attack your castle. And they will have no success because your fortress is untouchable. It's eternal. It's not going anywhere. You have built the foundation of your life on the truth. But if Mr. Khan came to attack your beliefs, your little house made of straws, you would get wiped away easily. That is why people who live from ego, people who have built the foundation of their life on their beliefs, they will always experience a life crisis or a dark night of the soul. It's coming. Because when you're living in ignorance, eventually the truth will be revealed. The truth is that which is eternal. It's the light. It is God. And the more you're living in darkness, the more hell you will experience. Because what is hell? Hell is the truth when you've been living a lie. When you're attached to the darkness, when the light appears, it dissolves the darkness and you with it. And that experience is that of burning. Hell is the burning away of ignorance. And the more attached you are to ignorance, the more you will burn. The more suffering you will experience. But I say to you, my friend, those who surrender to the fire do not get burned. What does this mean? Let go of the box. Let go of the person you believe yourself to be. Because it is separating you from your divine nature. It is separating you from the truth. It is separating you from everlasting relief and peace and love and joy. The only thing that truly matters. All of your efforts in the world to go out and be successful and get this or get that. Everyone is actually seeking God. Because when we are not connected to our divine nature, there is a void. And we try to fill that void with things. But that void is eternal. And so you cannot find lasting satisfaction in a temporary world. But the moment, it's like in the TV show, It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Let's see if I can find it.
Place of power. It's not important. It's important to me, Frank. And I know that what's important to you is money and power, but I want real power. Because with real power comes real responsibility, and I don't want any of that shit. I just want the money and the illusion of power. And puss.
What?
Yeah, Frank, I don't know, man.
What? Tell me.
I need something. I mean, I got this giant gaping hole inside me.
Oh.
And I'm always trying to fill it with something. I like to call it my God hole.
Oh.
And I think a lot of people in this world, they fill it with religion. But I don't believe in God.
But you want to fill it with pussy.
Yeah.
Now you see, that is why Christ said, When you drink from the water of the world, you will thirst again. You will have more desires. You will never be satisfied. Samsara, wandering in the desert. But when you drink from the water that I give you, you shall never thirst again. That water is the water of God, the eternal wellspring within you. The black hole can only be filled with something of equal value, and the black hole is eternal. The only other thing is God, which is why when you come to God realization, you are satisfied. You are completely content in this present moment. You don't need anything. You see, for a long time, I was very frustrated because I was broke. I had no money. And that, of course, creates suffering in your life. But I went all in on the spiritual path, the inner path. And that meant I had to forgo some of the worldly things. I took the advice of Jesus. Seek first the kingdom of God, and then everything else will be added on to you. So what happened? I learned to be satisfied, happy, peaceful, joyful, with nothing. Nothing. Because I found what I was looking for the whole time. And there was no longer this void, this eternal thirst for things. And from this place of satisfaction and freedom, I can now live my life. And everything I desire comes to me effortlessly. Because I have already found the source of all that is. You must remember that you are the source of what you seek. And the more you get distracted by the world of 10,000 things, the more you will stay stuck in that suffering, in the mind panic. But once you connect to God, to Source, which comes from awakening to your true nature, then the world, it's not that important. What happens to you is, for all intents and purposes, irrelevant. But even so, you bring forth divine harmony into your life. Most, if not all, of your problems begin to work themselves out of their own accord. And so you spend your time trying to fix your problems in life. And it's a waste of time. Because there are an infinite number of problems. You will never stop putting out fires. And that is what exhausts you. It keeps you on this hamster wheel. That is why life feels like a struggle. Because ego is a very limited state of consciousness. So you put all the burdens of the world on this ego. And eventually the ego will crack, no matter how strong you think you are. As it is said, when a man loses enough blood on the battlefield, he is reminded that he is only a man. And this is what will happen to everyone. Life will break you down, and it will continue to break you down until you give up control and surrender. Because life is an unstoppable force, and you are not an unmovable object. It's like trying to stand in front of a fire hose. The fire hose is not going off. 24 hours a day it's going. And you might be able to stand there for a few minutes and try to... But eventually, you'll get blown away. Because you cannot withstand that unfathomable power. But once you recognize your true nature as consciousness, as the unchanging awareness behind your experiences, you become the immovable object. And there is no force in this life that can disturb you. And from this state of ultimate power, you live your life. And as Ramakrishna said, the main, perhaps the only requirement is a strong desire for God. You have to want it. Because we exist between these two great forces, like planets. There is the gravity of the world and there is the gravity of God. But Ramakrishna said, we are like needles, and we have been covered up by mud and dirt, worldliness, earthliness. And God is the magnet, so we're not pulled toward God, we're pulled toward the world. But as you start becoming free from a little bit of that earthliness, you become magnetized toward God once again. When you turn your eyes toward God and away from the world, the illusion dissolves. And you become freer and freer and freer from all this mud and this dirt. And you start to rise back up, whee, like an angel. It's like I always use the balloon analogy. The balloon is always rising up toward heaven. But because of the conditioning, the earthliness, the ego attachments, we fall naturally instead of rise. And so once you stop feeding the worldly identity and turn toward God, the mud and stuff falls away naturally. Make your eye one pointed toward God. And it's really just a habit. We have been habitually conditioned to always be focusing on the things of the world by living through our senses. So you must close your eyes and live by faith. Through every experience, bring God with you. And you will see you will bring divine harmony with you everywhere you go. And that divine harmony will become richer and richer and richer as you go along your journey. And the veil will continuously be removed from your eyes. But it all begins with a choice to seek God. And once you find God, you can either float away toward the heavenly realms, or you can come back to the world and use your God power to relieve the suffering of the beings of the world. I am Ray. Visit my cool store. Much peace and many blessings. And remember, just be.